right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by Phrase. Let's get started with the agenda. Today's session is all about how to automate and scale content translation, and in particular, how that can be done with the new Phrase and Optimizely integration. And I would love to hand it over to today's two expert speakers. We have Simon Chapman, VP of Enablement at Optimizely, and Ray Hopley, Senior Product Manager at Phrase. I'm happy to have you both. Thank you so much for being here. And Ray, I think we are all super excited to get started, so please take it away.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Clara. Welcome everybody to today's webinar. As described, it's about automation and scale for managing your localization needs for Optimizely content. First slide I've jumped to here is actually for Simon to comment on. So this is the slide that we are going to jump back and forth a little bit, tag teaming the presentation. So this is for you, Simon.
Yeah, thank you, Ray, and nice to meet everybody online. So if you aren't familiar with Optimizely, of course, we are the world leader in experiences, digital and beyond. And so a little bit about us in terms of who we are. As you can see, it wouldn't be a presentation, of course, without a little bit of a logo wall to talk through us and our credentials, etc. And so we're well established. In fact, we celebrated our 30th birthday last year. So happy birthday, Optimizely. And of course, it means that we really have global reach. And so the ability to serve customers across all geographies, with the ability to serve them with a wide variety of different scenarios, use cases, etc. And so obviously today's focus on content excellence through localization and translation, powering really at the heart of what we can do with those 40,000 plus websites that we're powering and Optimizely, delivering market-leading growth. So effectively today, hopefully you'll get a great impression of how our two solutions work together. Indeed, how we can deliver excellence for you in terms of localization, translation, but also exceptional experiences online. Ray, over to you.
Great, thank you, Simon. So yes, moving into some common challenges with localization regarding digital experience content, the website and marketing materials that we're talking about here. So common challenges are, of course, departmental silos. Marketing teams often operate slightly outside of the regular localization flows. That causes some frictions internally occasionally and manual slow processing. So working outside of the main localization flows also means that the processes that support localization are not common across the entire organization, and that obviously can cause issues. Ultimately, lower quality and higher costs for that localization. So one of the goals here, obviously, with an integration at the technical level between our two platforms is to reduce those frictions. And yeah, it's starting with like kind of the high level view, why localization matters. Then we'll talk a little about why digital experience localization matters, and then show you the integration in live. So some statistics again to support the basic premise, which I think we're all kind of have a good understanding of. Customers want content in their language. That's kind of a basic premise for everything that we do here at Phrase. And here's some numbers backing it up from CSA Research and NIMSY, our kind of industry gurus when it comes to understanding the market. I don't need to read a slide. Those numbers speak for themselves. And again, the benefits of website localization, increased market reach. You can see 200% surge in product adoption. Also an improvement in quality, higher conversion rates. As a business with a multilingual presence, you are a better business, higher conversion rates, a better compliance. So also an important pillar in the localization world, that there are requirements outside of marketing that underpin the things that we're doing. And again, some more details, more statistics. Simon, if you want to touch on these.
Sure, and of course, we are focused on, as you saw from the initial slide, digital experience. And so if we look at some of these use cases that we have, or indeed ourselves included, this is all about how we can not just do a single experience, a single website, but also do multiples. And the point of it is whether it's the Royal Mint or indeed Dorothy Schumacher, the point is delivering these across the markets that they're being served through. And so that's through the CMS that we're talking about today, as well as other parts of our platform. But if we focus particularly on the CMS, you can see that we're doing this to really improve how people interact with those brands, interact with those key things, and deliver the ROI on the left-hand side. So you're seeing huge benefits in terms of how people can deliver what they want to do on the channels that are being consumed by, and indeed, basically making it so they can drive toward the content excellence part that I mentioned before. Now, if we move to the next slide, what that comes into is actually 5 key use cases. And in fact, we're obviously focused on a couple of these today. So we're looking at content orchestration, and we're looking at how we can optimize digitally in terms of organizations across all channels. But ultimately, we support 5 key use cases where organizations like yourselves potentially want to do much more with what they have, and ultimately can drive that to talk to those customers wherever they may be. Now, if we look at content orchestration for a moment, that's talking about supply chains, talking about how content can be used anywhere. And so if we look at that as a particular focus, it might be that you want to use the content management system. You want to ultimately understand what content can be used where. And as Ray will show in the demonstration we have soon, is actually how can we then showcase that to make it so it's the most personalized, localized experience we can offer to those individual places. And so we've got great experience in doing that. And obviously, we're delighted to partner with Phrase, who, of course, have built this fantastic integration to enable organizations to use, in this case, our headless CMS to drive that on any experience they are choosing to power with the headless CMS.
Okay, thank you, Simon, again. So yes, this is specific to the integration now, and the solution, as you can see, is described here. It's all about automation. Hyper-automation is one of the key pillars underpinning much of what we do at Phrase, and so there is an automated sync between the content that needs localizing and the translation workflows within Phrase TMS. Automated workflow steps are then executed, and there are a number of aspects there around automation, like the handoffs to individual players within that workflow potentially, or you can have a fully automated workflow where you're leveraging some of the technologies that I'm going to touch on later in the demo. Centralization of the translation assets, that's a key piece. That's also talks to the point I made earlier about the marketing silos. Like, you really want to leverage the corporate terminology and translation memories that you built over time to get increased quality in your translations. And then that also lends itself to better management of quality control processes. Again, all centralized and standardized for your corporation. So we have here a specific customer use case, translating into 30+ languages. Not an unusual number these days. Quite a lot of content moving around through the system. They were previously working with manual processes organized by an LSP, so no real automation there. And it was being run outside of the regular localization flow. So the before, there were, again, so just kind of summarizing again the challenges that I highlighted on that earlier slide, higher costs, less control over quality, and then obviously with an automated solution in place, pulling that content into a standardized, centralized platform like Phrase, you get all of the benefits there, talking about earlier, the language assets, term bases, and translation memories. Also, AI translation. I noticed on Simon's slide, he also had AI-powered workflows that were very much supportive of that kind of thing. You'll see also some AI workflows in the demo. And again, full control over the quality and the level of automation that you want. So automation is a wonderful thing. It leads to the ability to operate at scale because you don't have so many human touch points. You can optionally, if you want, have human touch points in the workflow, but automation is one of the key deliverables here, specific to this integration. So the advantages that delivers for you: lower post-editing costs, again, greater quality control, and automation through AI-powered workflows, just to summarize that all up. And Phrase advantage in this particular customer use case, 200% increase in efficiency after adopting the Phrase platform. So those are, again, compelling numbers. how it works. So this is specific now to the integration piece. So we're syncing translatable content into Phrase TMS. So new and recently modified content is identified through an automation layer within Phrase that is then pulled from Optimizely CMS and runs automatically through the predefined translation workflow. So it picks up a project template and all of the settings that you've defined in there to execute according to your standardized processes. And then, of course, at the return leg at the end of that particular translation workflow, we push the content back into the Optimizely CMS. So again, a little more detail around how, the breakdown of those individual steps. So I'd mentioned predefined template, machine translation using phrase language AI, but also leveraging, as I said earlier, translation memory for consistency and terminology for brand consistency. QPS scoring, I do touch on that in the demo in a moment, but you'll see we have some quality performance scores there attributed to each of the machine translated segments. Very powerful feature. And of course, then if you want a human touch point at the end, you can include a post-editing step in the workflow. Okay, I'm just going to come out of the deck for a moment and switch to the demo. Hello and welcome to this showcase demonstration of Phrase's latest integration between Optimizely CMS and Phrase TMS. Here you can see me logged into Optimizely. This is my demo content page that I wish to localize. You can see here this is the master English version, and we're going to generate target French and German versions. So now I've navigated over to TMS, and you can see here I've configured my Optimizely integration, and typically as a secondary step to the configuration of the connectivity, you would create an APC, an automatic project creation mechanism. This is a scheduled component that looks for new and modified content within Optimizely and pulls it out and prepares it for translation. For the purposes of this demo, I'm going to do a manual pull, but typically that APC would kick in based on the schedule that you configure and do that in an automatic manner. So I'm going to click into my project and then create a new job within that. And here you can see add from online repository, and here you can see that I have my Optimizely CMS. So this is the same folder structure that you saw in the Optimizely UI, and here is the demo about us page that I want to localize. So I'm going to select that and then click create. So I've pre-configured a workflow as well behind this project so that these individual files will follow fairly standard workflow with human touchpoints, translation and review, but I've also pre-configured this project to pre-translate using phrase language AI, so that when I open one of the files we should then see it populated in the target with translations. You can also note that we have the QPS score as well. This is an automated mechanism to measure the quality of the machine translation. Once I'm happy with those translations, and again for the purposes of the demo I've kind of cut that workflow short, but you would also, if you wanted, have human touch points or a fully automated flow depending on the specific project requirements. Now I'm going to select both of my target languages and again manually pull them back into Optimizely. Again, typically the workflow execution, which I've bypassed, would, when it hits the complete status, would automatically trigger that return leg. So I'm going to export to online repository. And then we should see those back in Optimizely if we navigate over there now. So here we are again back inside Optimizely. This is the original source English of the page. Here you can see we've added the French and German versions, and if I use the language toggle you can then see the content update. So this is the machine translated version which we just machine translated using phrase language AI in TMS. And that concludes the demo. Short, it proves the connectivity, the round tripping of the content, and also the value of including phrase language AI as an automated means to deliver your website localizations. Okay, I think there's only one slide remaining, which is the Q&A slide. We want to go to the Q&A, Clara?
Let's start with it. If we make a small change to a published page, does it automatically trigger a new translation workflow?
So yes, the modification of existing content does indeed trigger a new translation workflow, so that the I think is we particularly hook it onto the modified on date. So if there's a modification that is updated in Optimizely, then that will cause a new using the APC I'd mentioned, it will create a new translation workflow.
But just to add on that point, it won't necessarily put it live. So therefore, depending on how you configure the workflow steps, it will then drop into an approval process that you would design. So therefore, it might be you have an additional review steps or whatever, but it wouldn't publish that content as such. It would just be an alternative version of that content ready to be published at the appropriate publishing point. So we always have a workflow attached to any content change.
Thank you very much, both. Yeah, next question. Can phrase be used to translate content beyond web page body content, such as PDF documents or image? Any other formats? Ray?
Yeah, so there is support, not necessarily through the integration for these things, but the image alt text, for example, is typically part of the web page content. So that should get pulled in through the integration.
Thank you. On to the next one. What licenses or plugins are needed on Optimizely side, and which phrase license is required for the integration?
Okay, so I didn't show the connector configuration screen within Phrase CMS. That was kind of an initial setup, one-time setup step. So that lives with inside Phrase, and so there's no plugin within Optimizely. You create this connectivity between the two applications, and Phrase looks inside Optimizely based on the credentials and the API key and so on that you've specified in the connection strings. So there's no additional plugin within Optimizely per se.
And just to add on that point, in terms of CMS licenses, of course, you would need a CMS license. This integration isn't with the CMP, although there's always an opportunity, Ray, in terms of the CMP integration piece, but this is explicitly to link to the CMS. So yeah, it would work only with that at this moment.
At this moment, indeed, we do have, and we touched upon this in our conversations prior to this webinar, Simon, that we want to extend the availability of the interaction between the two applications to cover also the CMP, but not with this current integration. Okay.
And Ray, maybe just a follow-up in terms of the specific phrase plans.
Right. So yeah, the licensing related to Phrase license, it's included in the business and enterprise plans. It's available as a paid add-on additionally to that. So yeah, that's
Okay.
some
Yeah, thank you.
detail. Okay, I just need to move this window out of the way of the questions. Hold on.
Okay, on to the next one. Are the pages in this example, English and French pages, automatically generated in Optimizely after exporting from Phrase?
So you may have missed that detail, but it's added as a version. So the French and the German it was in this example were added as versions to the original source English page. So yes, as Simon touched upon, we don't govern any of the workflow within Optimizely, but we do create a new version with the localized content.
And just to add, the version, the actual languages themselves or the locales that we support, they would need to be predefined. So therefore, it needs to be that you've already done the setup as an administrator, that we are supporting, for example, French or German or whatever. So it needs obviously to know and to expect that we're supporting those particular locales, of which we support over 350 different locales.
Yes, indeed. But basically what that step does, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Simon, but that creates a space within the CMS to hold the localized content. So it comes out, the source comes out, gets translated, and then when it goes back in, it has somewhere to go. That's essentially what we're doing in creating those locales, or that locale.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. It's supported languages, basically. It's the languages that we're supporting, and then otherwise anything that's not been predisposed or pre-configured, we're not supporting. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but of course, on both ends we cover all of the commercially relevant languages, but plus hundreds of others, many. Okay.
Thank you. Next one. Can you show the review step for how it would look like if there was issues with translation for a specific language, translation for page, in case a user had issue with a specific translation for a page?
Yeah, so I won't be able to demo that today, but it's an interesting question about where which user is this, where are they looking at this page? Are they within Optimizely still before it's been published, or is this an end user? Probably need a little more clarification on the details of that, but I understand the question. A user, if there's some feedback related to the quality of the translation, how does the user or the person with that feedback deliver it? And it depends on a number of those things.
Cool. Maybe we can also follow up after.
Yeah, I was going to suggest, Clara, if we can take that question, I'm happy to follow with more details around the flow, the feedback flow, essentially, for the content.
Yeah, we can also show side by side, in terms of English versus other languages, we can also show that in the tool. So within Optimizely, so therefore it can be that you have an English source or master, and then you show the translated version of that content as a variation. You can show them side by side. So that can happen as part of a review step, looking effectively at what we call a diff or a differential of the content. So it's a standard feature.
Very good.
Thank you. Is there a way to differentiate which translations are coming from translation memory, AI, or from human translators? There's also a second part, but let's address this one first.
Yeah, so within the cat editor, as you saw briefly in that demo when I was showing the segment view and I highlighted the QPS scores, they were obviously from the phrase language AI. But if it had come from a TM, it would also tell you that it was from a TM, which TM it had come from, and the match score, 101, 100, fuzzy score, whatever it might be. And then, yeah, the human translators would have a different status that did not include either reference to a TM or AI. So implicitly, yes, you can differentiate those three things. And the second part?
Corrections done by language reviewers will go back to the translation memory and be used for next translation projects.
So again, the question to me is, but where are these reviewers working? If they're working within Optimizely, then again, there's a slightly longer flow. If you're working within a phrase cat editor, then of course it will be synced straight back to the TM. But if you're working with Optimizely, there's a longer flow. And I think that touches on the previous question as well about the feedback loop. And again, well, I'll take that, and we can perhaps we can publish something around some note around how to manage that kind of feedback flow. I think it's important. Okay.
Thank you so much. It looks like that's all for now. Give it a couple of seconds just in case. But yeah, if not, if you have any final thoughts, Ray or Simon, that you would like to leave the audience with to wrap up.
Yep, sure. I mean, obviously you've seen the demo. It is an initial release, as Simon touched upon, and in response to one of the questions, there is another, area within the Optimizely platform that we would like to be integrating with the CMP rather than just the CMS. But today's demo is around the CMS, and I think it does demonstrate a good proof point of the connectivity between, these two kind of enterprise platforms.
Agreed, and wanted to say thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, obviously, today, in terms of talking about what we can do together. If any of you are curious in terms of what Optimizely can do, if you're not already Optimizely as a customer, and likewise you want to know more about how we can work together in terms of translating fantastic content from the Phrase platform to us, then please do get in touch. We'd be happy to explore that. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ray and Simon, for your time. Thank you for also to the audience for all the questions. They were quite, I think, practical and hands-on, and looks like you're excited to keep exploring the integration. So yeah, good luck with trying it out and seeing how it can work for you. And yeah, thank you so much. See you hopefully at another webinar soon, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye-bye.